the chief guest, Ms. Maureen Baker, CAS from the Ministry of ICT, Director Administration, PS State Department of Social Protection, Mr. Samson Magusi, the Vice Chairperson, Office of the Ombudsman, Mr. Washington Sati, the CEO of Science Media Kenya, Mr. Luke, the Chair of the Board of Directors, Science Media Kenya, Mr. Mesonga, and of course in Kenya you must say, and all protocol observed, so that in case I forgot your name, it's not intentional. In Kenya, whenever people speak, you've heard them say this statement, from where I sit, or from where I stand. So from where we stand as interpreters, what's our opinion on the assist hall? What has been the impact? The truth is, it's at very infancy stage that I must commend. However, as an association, is it something that we are happy about? The answer is yes. As interpreters, of course, who will provide the largest human resource to the app, we are happy with the app. We are happy on the progress. We are happy that someone has stood in that gap, to fill that gap, to make sure that this is happening. Is it happening in other places? Yes. But now, the Science Media Kenya, under the Assist All app, are trying to make sure that this now happens here locally. And that's something that as interpreters, I will assure you that we are ready to work with you to make sure that this happens, to make sure that this is a success. I share the Kenya Sign Language Interpreters Association. There's some officials who are here with me. Judy is there. Judy, please wave so that people can see you. Judy is the treasurer of the association. The one interpreting is the vice secretary, Mine Mesa. We have the vice chair who was to come, but I think she's on her way, Liz, and also the secretary, Linda. So the question that we will want perhaps to ask is, what model then are we applying when we are having, or we are trying to, or we are implementing this app? Is it a business model, or is it a right-based model? If you look at the best practices, because we are learning from those who have already implemented it, in the US, they have FCC. FCC is an equivalent of the Communication Authority of Kenya, CAK. So that is Federation Commission of Communication. They have developed, or they created a fund to run the app, to run an equivalent of what Assist All will do. That is what they call the video relay service, or video interpretation service. Now, the Assist All is the app. So what service does it seek to offer? That is the question that we need to answer. Does it want to offer the video relay services, which includes different aspects, not only interpretation, even text and video to speech, speech to video is still under video relay service. Does it seek to provide video remote interpretation? Because that's a total different altogether. Or number three, does it seek to offer telecommunication relay service? That is a third aspect of what Assist All can do. But then if we think about all these and we try to bring it together, Assist All can offer those three different aspects of services within the same app. So we just need to have that at the beginning so that we are able to have it as a wholesale of different services. Human rights model, of course, then will mean, like what the FCC does, create maybe a fund under the Ministry of ICT or the Communication Authority of Kenya, like in the US, so that there is zero cost to the users of the app, okay? So that they do not pay to get information that otherwise they should get. Those are the things that we need to think about. Are there possible areas for collaboration with KCLIA? Yes. Number one, and that we cannot say again, or we will always say again and again, is on training. World over, interpreters who are used for this kind of platform must be very well trained. You know why? Because they'll be experiencing or meeting the deaf person when the deaf person requests an interpreter. through that app. So it's the first time the interpreter will be knowing who the client is. The best practices in this country and world over is that an interpreter will prepare before going for a meeting with a deaf person. When a deaf person has a presentation, an interpreter will sit with the deaf person to prepare for that presentation. But now in this app, once you request, just like Uber app, you are meeting that interpreter for the first time. Are there challenges? Of course, yes. Just like all of us will speak here, and we have different accents, even deaf people have different accents in signing. So if you're not used to how this deaf person signs, it will be hard for you to offer sign language interpretation at the beginning. So those are some of the things that needs to be considered. Caselier is ready to work with you so that we are able to provide, through partnership, qualified interpreters who will offer human resource in this app. What are other areas that we can partner? Of course, training goes beyond. We look at training in 3 different ways. There is skills, knowledge, of course, personal attributes. Sign Language Interpreters Association, of course, will make sure that all the interpreters are trained in these 3 different aspects. Of course, the skills, and this will then mean the ability to provide sign language interpretation services. The knowledge, and this of course goes beyond just the knowledge on sign language, but also how to use technology, because this is a tool that uses technology. What are other areas that we will be happy to partner with you? Sector-specific areas of interpretation. In Kenya, we still have a challenge of having interpreters specifically for a specific sector, and that is the best practice everywhere. Now, assist or like in the video that was shared, offer sign language in some areas that to a deaf person, they are private. Like for instance, hospital. That is a private issue. A deaf person might not be comfortable to just pick any interpreter from the app to interpret for them. Now, how do we have interpreters on that app who are trained on their ethics, that even if they offer the interpretation, then at the end, a deaf person will not leave feeling that they have shared their personal information with an interpreter. That is part of the training that we offer as Kenya Sign Language Interpretation Association, meaning ethical training. Banking institution is another area. This is discussing personal finances. How comfortable is the deaf person to share this information with the interpreter? And if they are comfortable enough, how well trained are the interpreters that they know, even after offering this service, then that is private information that should not be shared with anyone. Those are kinds of ethical trainings that we offer. Of course, Science Media Kenya, to be able to have I don't want to say control, but to be able to do this before the interpreters are on that platform, if Kenya Sign Language Interpreters Association can be part of the committee that selects the interpreters to be, or vets the interpreters to be on that app, then we will have good interpreters from the word go. And this will mean a multi-sectoral approach. Kenya Sign Language Interpreters Association, Kenya National Association of the Deaf, because they are the users, of course Science Media Kenya, among many others. Are there questions that should be considered? I've discussed some of the questions, like sharing of information before going for a meeting. That is the industry best practice. And that's why you will see sometimes a deaf person preferring to go with a specific interpreter. Is it, as they call, deaf politics? No. It's the best industry practice, even in other professions. You will hear people say, I am going to call my lawyer. They can call any lawyer, but why do they prefer to call their lawyer? Because they have that rapport between client and a profession who is a lawyer. The same as a doctor. One will always want to go to the same doctor again and again. The same as deaf people, sometimes they'll want to use the same interpreter again and again. There are the reasons as to why that happens. However, having it right from the word go, then we'll make sure that there is seamless and smooth running of all this. Now, I will invite the team to also look at our research that was done by Dr. Taylor. This is a doctor in sign language from the US, and he shared wonderful comparison between traditional interpreting, which is what Mina is doing. This is the traditional interpreting or in-person interpreting versus video relay interpreting. Are there challenges? Yes. Video relay interpreting is actually harder than what she's doing now. Because when you're on video, there are things you miss. You miss the cues in this room. You miss the direct feedback from the deaf person because you're not in the same room. And those are very essential for a deaf person or for an interpreter to know how they are communicating. Now, there is fatigue. Research showed that there is fatigue when one is working through video. Why? Because sometimes you're struggling to hear. The information is not like what Mina is getting right now. You're struggling to hear. So there are all these things that needs to be put in place, needs to be considered, so that whenever we are having the app running and the interpreters, which is the human resource, then it will be smoothly done. Will they be working from a specific center? Best practice shows yes. That is the best practice. As much as it won't be like what the Uber app does, that a taxi can park everywhere. For sign language interpreters, the best practice is they work from a specific center. That helps you to have environmental control. The background, which is very important for sign language interpreter, how they're dressed, the environment, the noise, among other things. And remember also connectivity, because it really requires fast connectivity for one to be able to communicate fluently. Can the app give feedback to the interpreter and of course the company that is now offering the app? Those are some of the questions or the functionalities that we'll want to look at, so that the app is all rounded. Just like after you use Uber, it sends you a question asking you, what did you think about the service? Did you like the service? Rate the service, rate the driver, rate the interpreter. That way it helps to have feedback that will help in improving of the service. So there are best practices, there are researches that have been done before that all of us will want to look at before this goes forward, so that we start with the right footing. However, it's a great platform. It's a platform that of course is coming to help of course the deaf community, and the interpreters are ready to work with you as long as then it's done from the word go at the right way. Other things like you mentioned, 2018, the data protection law is now a law. We will want to consider that. How protected is the data of the clients, and also, of course, the sign language, who will be sharing their data on that. The 2016 Access to Information Law, how much can the interpreter access that information after, if they want to know? For instance, a deaf person can launch a complaint. Sometimes then an interpreter will want to know, okay, fine, then how much information can I access to help me know how this can be improved? So we are ready as an association to sit with you, to look through all these issues so that we can have a platform that will run seamlessly. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening to me.